Welcome back to the shop, guys. It's a new year, new stuff. Something I really want and have wanted it for a while is a welding jig table or a jig table, welding table thing. So I'm gonna build one. Let's do it. Now I'm going to get a little creative with this one because I wanted to do multiple things. I want it to be a welding table. Basically just a table with a bunch of holes in it so you can jig up stuff, weld stuff, keep it fairly flat, etc., etc. Now I'm welding this together, so to keep it flat might be a little tough, but we'll deal with that as it comes. One thing I also want this to do is to raise and lower. I do some welding sitting down. I do some welding standing. Sometimes you're welding on something that is taller, so you want it lower so you can weld up top, things like that. And so I started looking into scissor lift tables. And so I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to integrate my welding table into a scissor lift table. And in doing that, that gives me the height adjustment. It'll also help me lift things from the ground up. I have a lot of transmissions and engine blocks and stuff like that that are often a pain to lift up onto the bench if I need to. So I could drag it onto there and then jack it up. That's the plan anyways. Now I don't know if it'll be able to hold something that heavy, but I'm going to push it. So basically I started filming this actually a little while ago, but I got carried away. I was doing a lot of Christmas gifts and stuff like that. I was trying to make on the plasma cutter, a whole bunch of stuff. I was just busy, tied up. We were building the powder coating oven. If you want to see those videos, I'll have the link up there, I think in this corner. So we can talk about that later. So I did start on this thing, but I figured I'm just going to start this video again because my old videos, I always had my propane heater going. I now have a furnace in here keeping everything fairly warm and tolerable. So where I'm at, I have this square piece welded together. It is 4 feet by 2 feet. And I'm going to make a second one with this material here. And those are going to be my top and bottom. And then they're going to scissor in between. Now, I think, but I don't know the actual math because I'm not really drafting this out or anything. I'm just going at it. So this thing will be, I don't know, 8 to 12 inches tall, completely flat-ish. Maybe thicker, maybe less. I don't know. The less, the better. But I also want this thing to be fairly rigid and strong. So I'm not too concerned with the compressed height. And with how scissor tables work, the higher you build them, the less it needs to go up to get your height. It's hard to explain, but you'll understand once it starts going together. So basically, I'm going to final weld this. This is just tacked in place. I'm going to weld up a second one. And then we have our top and our bottom. The bottom will probably get wheels. Maybe even a tray or something to hold stuff, because there will be a little bit of space in here even when it's totally collapsed. If it stays up long enough and I never seem to actually lower or raise it, I might actually put my welder under here. We'll see. But for now, I guess the one downside to this is that you won't have any feet room really. So maybe I'll actually put more of a flat top on it so I can put my pedal up here so I can actually, I don't know. I'm going to build it regardless. We'll see what happens. I might be sacrificing some foot space for the mobility and the scissor action, but I think I'll be okay with that. Something is better than nothing. So I'm going to weld up a secondary square rectangle. And once those are welded up, we'll start working on the plasma to do some brackets for our pivot arms and stuff like that. And like I said, I don't have any plan. I'm just kind of going at it. I know that this is the size I'm going with. Basically, the reason I'm going to this size is because my plasma cutter is 2 feet by 4 foot. And so for me to cut my own tabletop is right in that wheelhouse. And plus space gets away from a guy. And if I keep telling myself I'm going to work on the car, that's why it's in here. I keep telling myself I will, but I haven't. But, because I do have big plans for that. I just don't know when I'm going to get to it. But for now, I'm going to continue on this. So stick with me here, guys. I'm going to weld up a second one like this, and I'll bring it back, and we'll see what we're going to do for brackets. All right, so I got these two welded up. It's a pity that God blessed me as a better grinder than a welder, but we'll get there. We're getting better. I just did this all up with my flux core, made it a lot easier because all I have is a small flux core and a TIG. And I didn't want to go through all the prep necessary and set up the TIG for this. I hope to purchase a better MIG welder in the near future, but we'll get to that at a later date and as soon as money is available. So yeah, these are our two pieces. We got a top and a bottom. However, I think this one's my top one. I was able to get this one a little bit straighter than this one. So now they're going to be sitting just like this. And so that top one will raise up and raise down. And by doing that, there is 2 bars that'll X in the middle and scissor up and down. Hence scissor table. So right now I got to figure out the brackets that I'm going to weld underneath this guy to hold our X or our scissor portion of the lift. So I'm going to get working on that. I'm going to see what I can come up with. I'm hoping to have enough material that I can quickly plasma cut them out. It saves me a lot of cutting time. And yeah. So I'll get some brackets cut, and I'll maybe even get those cross beams cut, and then we'll really start seeing some progress here. So stick with me here, boys. All right, so we got those cut. Where's my test bolt here? This is what I came up with. This one, the hole didn't want to go all the way through, so I'll have to knock that out. This one cut pretty clean. This one had some draws, but I think because I had this one too close to this one where I had them nested. These are right off the table. I have not touched these yet, so there's nothing here that won't be taken off by wire wheel. Should be simple enough. Slag is very minimal, or at least for me. I don't know what you guys are getting for cuts, but I seem to be doing pretty good. The only thing is I'm always scared cutting bolt holes because I get stuck with this where I have clearance in the hole, but because it doesn't cut straight, I don't know if let me see if I can see that little bit of taper. I think it's worse on this side. Yeah, like the cut isn't 90 degrees, and so with bolt holes, I tend to have issues like this where I don't quite have enough clearance, and maybe I just need more clearance. I don't know. But so I'm working on that. I just need more 1/4 inch material to play with. The problem is that gets really expensive. So this is the best I can do right now. And that was done in drafting and cutting. Took me 15 minutes. A lot better than the hour and a half I would have had to cut these all out and drill them with an angle grinder. So still a plus, and once they're welded up, no one's going to be questioning my cut quality after that. So I'm going to start mocking this up a little bit, and I'll kind of explain as I'm going here. Actually, I might as well just do that right now. So these guys are going to go right here. I just have another piece in here as a spacer, just to give an idea. So this one's going to get welded there on the outside. It's going to be the outside pivot, and these ones are going to go on the inside like so to be our outside pivot. And that way I can kind of weld all the way around it there. So that being said, I am going to mount those guys, get them tacked on and kind of test them out. I might use this piece as a test piece. I might drill a hole and play with it a little bit. But that's what I'm going after. And once that's done, I'm going to have to do the same brackets, but on the lower piece, because one of the top legs are going to have to slide and one of the bottom legs is going to have to slide, because when you scissor the 2 pieces of material or the 2 bars, they got to get closer to each other. So there's got to be one side mounted, one side not. And again, you'll see more as we go. But I'm going to get those tacked on where I think they need to be, and we'll keep trucking. Stay with me. All right, so I just built a little jig. Help me out here. I just took this little piece, fired a 1/2 inch hole in the center of this tube where I plan on having the pivot. And I just sent a bolt through there, So it's holding that inside one like so. Yes, there's some gappage, but it'll be okay. And this guy will be flat with the back. It's not totally flat because, like I said, I had some tapers in these cuts, so it's gonna be hard to kind of read there. And what I might do is once I have one done, I might send a threaded rod all the way through if I have something of like that around, or I'll just eyeball it. Pretty good at just guessing because I can deal with the pain once it's done. But so I'm gonna get these tacked on, probably fully weld them out too. I might just tack weld them until I have the whole thing. It'll be good tacks. I'll put good tacks on. That way it holds, but once, if something is a little messed up, I can kind of go back and redo it. Okay, so I think I got my situation sorted out here. I was just thinking about it differently. In my head, I was thinking that it was going to be able to collapse so that these legs were actually like this, like very well stacked together. If I want my legs to be tight with each other so it's not so tippy top, I'm going to need them closer together, so I can't have them spaced out that far, because now my next leg would have to be out here. And for me to, what I want to do is have this closer in, so that way basically the bottom of this bracket is going to hit the top of this bracket. So it'll be another 3 or 4 inches up yet, which I don't think I am against. That saves me from having to space out the 2 scissor legs really far and having the tracks really far into the center of the unit. And I just don't want this thing too tippy because I do want it to be fairly rigid. So I'm going to get to welding this. These top ones can be welded on. And then I'm going to start working on the bottom ones, and we'll start cutting our legs and kind of see how we're going to do that. So I'm going to get those welded on, and I'll bring you back here in a bit. So this is where I'm at. I just got those brackets welded on. I might go back and do some finish welding in some spots I missed and couldn't get to very well. So once I kind of know this will work, I'll go back and kind of touch that up. But I have one of my legs cut here, and I have it pivoting here. Just rounded off the edges, and I just hammered that down. It won't close the gap entirely, but I'm okay with that. I was going to just put a whole nice piece in here, but yeah, I don't really care that much. I was just going to leave it open, but I don't think this is that strong, so I'm going to bang this down, weld that up, just so it has some rigidity here around the bolt. I did that to the bottom side already. You can kind of see it there. So this thing, it took me a little while to do the geometry on this, and by geometry, I mean I just laid things out, took a tape measure, and kind of guessed. So this thing goes up, and actually I get some good height out of it, and there'll be 2 of these crisscrossed here on both sides, and that should give us our scissor action up and down. I did a rough measurement, and I should be able to get around 48 inches of lift out of the table. I don't know all the math behind it. I just, again, took a tape measure and kind of just guessed. But I should be able to get around 48 inches out of the table of height without casters. So as soon as I put casters on this thing, then it jumps up however big casters I put on there. So we'll see what it does and how stable it gets when you get up that tall. Because when you go up terribly tall, when these go strictly vertical or very close to vertical, your crisscross is very close together, which sometimes means this thing's a little this way and maybe even a little bit this way. So depending on how rigid this thing ends up being, that'll determine how high I can actually go with this thing. And I might put a limiter bolt on there. I plan on using threaded rod or Acme thread, whatever I can find. Threaded rod I might do right away because that I have access to pretty quickly. Acme thread will be better, but more on that later. So I need to make 3 more of these. Yeah, I need to make 3 more of these, get those things situated, because I got to put them on the top as well. This is the top piece here. And then we can actually do a raise and lower test and kind of see if this thing's even going to work. I have these little wheels that I've had kicking around for a while. They're pretty bad, but they fit kind of nice. They're just slightly bigger than the pipe, so I'll be able to slide these in kind of halfway. They'll stick out like that. Actually, they're going to stick out just kind of flush with the outside. That way, when this thing closes, it all stays within the perimeter, is the plan. So anyways, I'm going to make 3 more of these legs. And then I'll get them kind of bolted together. And then we'll take another look at it and see what we need to do next. All right, so got those legs done. all 4 of them. You see them here. I got my center hole for my pivot point. I got my wheels installed. They're looking good. Got the wheels on all 4 of these. These actually fit really nice because all I needed was one little washer on each side and they were just perfect. So, oh, and I got the ends rounded off. Like I said before, I'll weld those up. I have to do a lot of prep work to all these too, so for paint eventually. So I'm going to get this thing all put together and then I'll disassemble it and clean it all up, finish the welding, all that kind of stuff, and then I'll paint it. So I'm going to get these legs bolted on to the bottom piece, however, because that's what I have sitting here. Might throw my top one up on my sawhorses here, get those legs on, and see how I'm going to kind of put this together. Maybe it's smarter if I put it on the floor. We'll see what happens. I'll get some stuff put together here and we'll take a look at it. Got some stuff bolted together now. Starting to look like something, and I think it's going to be pretty sweet. I'm pretty excited about this. So anyway, this is what I got. This is the bottom. And I got my T's, or my crisscross, whatever you want to call them. I'll need to join these guys yet with a bar, probably top and bottom one like that, for rigidity purposes. I don't have the top on because I realized that I actually need a track. Something that'll keep this guy in line along the outside edge of the upper piece. So I'm going to see if I can find something that'll work with that. But for now, I'm just going to set you up here a little bit so you can kind of see what's going on. It's there's a good amount of movement that I can see anyways. I don't know if this is enough or too little, but what you can kind of see here is how this is going to react. Lose that. So this thing's going to go up like that. And like so. Now I need tracks for all this, so hopefully that's in frame. Now, that's probably about as high as I'm going to be going, is about right there. And the one leg, with just the one leg, it seems pretty sturdy. So I'm hoping that when I have them tied together and the top on, I think it'll be nice and rigid. And with those tracks too, I'm going to try making those tracks as tight as I can without hindering any movement. That way there's no, wibble wobble. You saw here on this side where this wheel actually came off. That's just because everything is just pivoting on 2 bolts right now. I might even put a little outside trim just to keep that wheel tracked. But I think I'll have some good height out of this. Once there's casters and once there's the top piece on, I think that thing's going to be like chest height by the time I'm done. I'll do some measuring. And when we're done, we'll take a closer look at it too. But now I'm going to see if I can find something to make the tracks out of. And then we will weld or bolt or whatever I feel is best to put that track on the inside here. And we'll go from there. All right. So I got it all the way bolted together, top, bottom, and the middle arms. This is what it looks like here. And I just have some angle iron just clamped in place as my tracks for right now. My tracks, I want something that goes on both sides of the wheel just to keep everything, that way when you're bumping into it, it doesn't sit there and shake a bunch. So that's my plan anyways. I'm going to set you guys up here and you can kind of see this thing in action. And I've already done it a couple times because, not going to lie, it's a lot of fun just raising and lowering. Might have overbuilt this a little bit. She's heavy. Note to self, when I said I should build it on the ground, shouldn't have done that because it was very heavy getting it off the sawhorses. And by getting off, I mean I tried lifting one end down and the other one tipped and everything fell because that's how it goes. So I'm going to set you down here. You guys can kind of take a look at what's going on here. I'm going to try to put a board in there because I don't have any way to keep it up right now. And I was going to use threaded rod to actuate this thing up and down. I don't think that's going to be enough, boys. I don't think it's going to be enough. Found a 2x4 here. See if that'll work. Just like that. This thing's looking pretty sweet. So this is about there on me. I don't know if you can see that or not, but right above the hip. And that's not all the way fully up, at least not what I would say fully up. And this thing is, I'm on the worst part of my concrete floor, so don't judge me. And I still need to do those cross pieces in these cross, like they're gonna put a pipe in here. That way they stay more straight to each other. Parallel would be the word. And I'm not gonna lie, something's a bit out of square. I'm not sure what it is yet. Everything bolted together okay. I might have to ream this side holes out a little bit. This one was a little bit tough getting in, but nothing a hammer couldn't fix. But other than that, this thing's gonna be sweet. And yeah, it does not need to be this heavily built. I find it kind of only realize after I'm using 1/2-inch bolts everywhere, and then my wheels are using 5/16. So a little light there, but it's a solid rubber wheel. It's actually more of a hard, like it's rubber, almost a plastic. So it shouldn't go anywhere. I'm going to be lifting motorcycles with this thing. I tell you what, it's a little bit short for a bike lift, but if someone's going to do it, it's going to be me. This is pretty cool. No, I'm excited, guys. But I'm actually going to cut this video here. I was hoping to get a little further, but this video is getting long. It's getting long. I expected this to go a little quicker than it did. Kind of started over-engineering some stuff. But, yeah, I'm going to cut it here. Next time, we'll finish the tracks. And hopefully, if there's time and I have material, we can do the tabletop. And what I'm thinking is I'm going to do the tabletop, and I might even do bolt-on side panels with the same hole patterns. Obviously, they'll only go up to about here. But that way I can use the sides of the table as well. That's the plan anyways. But anyway, guys, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate that a lot. YouTube does as well. Algorithms work a lot better that way and all that jazz. But if you did finish this video all the way through, thanks. Hopefully I inspired somebody. But yeah, go build your own welding tables, boys. And I'll see you on part 2. See ya!